Hi everybody. I'm using yet another application to record this, and you won't see me for a bit. I'll pop in at the end, but I wanted to react to your reactions this week. And the first one I wanted to react to, and I've summarized some of your things here from your discussion of what is a writing center. In the top one, if we look at, we have this a place to build community, a place for mentoring, a place that fosters social cohesion. Move over to the right-hand column, a place to discuss writing, to work through writer's block, to brainstorm, to draft, a safe place to inspire creativity, a support group to work through the difficulties associated with writing. These are wonderful, and they're all really, really important aspects to writing centers. They are idealistic, and we know that, but it's not unattainable. So I really appreciate your input there. Now I want to address the to the left. There's a little. In fact, I can write on this one right here. Okay, so I think we need to discuss these. So we have this one for remediate weak students' writing skills. And then professionals, not peers, for those needing lots of help. And then the idea of a lab supervised by a teacher should be a D in there, who helps with writing. Now, all of these things can take place in a writing center. I guess the question is, should they take place in a writing center? And if so, who does that? And so I think that's what we get these two right here. If we think about, so remediate weak students' writing skills. And I would argue that peer tutors maybe don't remediate, but they certainly support and they help students with their writing skills. Doesn't mean that peers can't assist students with the mechanics of writing or the stylistic aspects of writing. And so I think the word remediate, I think, is the word, sort of the trigger word that sort of worries me. And I know that semantics are semantics, but we might think about a word that isn't quite as doesn't create the reactions in people that remediate often does. Professionals, not peers, for those needing lots of helps. And I think that's true. I think we have to think about if we've got a student whose skill level is really, really quite low, it may not be the purview of a peer tutor to help that student. I would argue that a peer tutor can be of great assistance, but perhaps a professional, a more experienced expert other will be the first line of support for that particular student. And then a lab supervised by a teacher who helps with writing. So I'm advocating for student-staffed writing centers, but there certainly are teacher-staffed writing centers across the country, in colleges and universities, and in public schools. Generally, in colleges and universities, the director of the writing center does some tutoring, but not always. He or she often is the director and sort of delegates that to peer tutors. In high schools and middle schools, it may be that the teacher is that person who supports writing. And so we have to think about, is that problematic for writing centers, that if a teacher is the person who's doing the tutoring? And it may not be, but I think we have to think about that in terms of our own situation, our own schools. So here's some anecdotal information. When I was a writing center director at a high school, I worked very hard to not do the tutoring, but there came times when students would come to the writing center and I was the expert other in the room. Other things were going on in this room, by the way, and I'll explain that to you later on. But there wasn't a tutor available during that particular period, and so I did take on the role of tutor, but I was very careful to make sure that I wasn't directing the student, that I was doing the same thing the tutors were doing and asking leading questions and helping that student to discover ways of improving his or her paper. And then if the student asked, helping that student with specific mechanical aspects or stylistic aspects of that paper. But I tried very hard to take on the tutor mantle when I did that, so that students didn't feel as though I was telling them what to do, which was always one of my dilemmas in helping my tutors to think about helping students. So I'm going to just go to it, okay, which is blank, as you can see, and I'm going to just jot down some things that in your editorials and your reactions to the articles that you wrote. So let's see. There was some conversation about, well, I'm losing my notes here. Okay, about engaging students. Okay, all right. And this is absolutely important. You know, if writing centers aren't engaging students, we're not going to have a lot of customers. Also, that they need administrative support. And this, my friends, is at the crux of what we do. If we don't have administrative support, whether no matter what grade level, we're not going to get anywhere. And I guess Aaron pointed out, no amount of advertising is going to help with that. So we have to have this. So when we're helping to help our peers to understand this and our students, the administration has got to be on board with this. Aaron also mentioned about directors of writing centers as faculty, not staff. Now, and this may not have pertinence to K through 12, but it certainly does for colleges and universities. In colleges and universities across the country, oftentimes directors of writing centers are staff, and they don't have the same voice that faculty do. I'm proud to say that at UMA, our writing center, we're actually in a search for a writing center director. We had a search this spring and it failed. We'll have that search again in the fall. That our writing center director is tenure track faculty. But that's not always the case. I have some colleagues across the country who are directors of writing centers, and they are not tenure track. And so they do not have the same privileges and rights that faculty do. So that's a very important. Okay, I'm going to go down the slide and just add some more things. So there was some conversation about a tutor is not a teacher. In my research, this came up again and again. Tutors insisted that they were not teachers. They were there to support the writer. They were not there to be a teacher. And this comes out of their definition of teacher. To them, a teacher directs, assesses, and corrects. And they felt that they did none of those things, that they support, that they encourage. Okay, those were the important things for them. So the idea that tutors are not teachers is really important, and I think that's one of the things that we have to help our colleagues better understand, that you can't expect a peer tutor to do the same thing a teacher does. It's a different dynamic. Going to move on to another slide here. Sorry, whoops. I forget how to do this, and you'll have to pardon me. Need to add a slide here, sorry. Oh, silly me, I can't remember how to do it. Here we go. Nope, that's not it either. All right, I'll tell you what I'll do, because this is, instead of doing all this, I'll just erase this, start over again. Okay. Well, I guess I'm not going to be able to do that. I don't know what. This thing's driving me crazy here. Let's see. Oh, silly me. Okay.